Hello, hello, hello. Here for a little talk on neurodivergence in the workplace again. This time with a twist. But first, I think I have some tweets. In fact, I have quite a bit of tweets. It's a very active weekend. Starting with, my God, one of my favorite, one of the best things I've seen in a while. I'll give you a little sample. Oh no, don't tell me I didn't save it. Hang on, I got it somewhere. Here we go. I know y'all probably saw this by now, but here's a little teaser. If not, Google it on YouTube. It's worth watching.
I'm looking for a job, and I've always wanted to work at
Oh,
McDonald's. I never did.
can y'all hear it?
Against somebody that said she did, but it turned out to be a totally phony story. So
It's very low.
well, that's a good-looking group. Hello, everybody.
Crazy.
I'm having a lot of fun here, everybody. Look at all the fake news over there.
Yeah. He made French fries at McDonald's. It really humanized him. That's what politics is about. It's about winning people over and not alienating people. Kamala Harris is alienating to me. She's a whiny person that can't give a direct answer to a question. I don't trust that. I don't trust whiny, insecure people that give me the impression they don't know anything because they can't directly answer a question. And Trump, ever since the first assassination with the fist, that resilience, that resolve he showed afterwards, that was like almost instinct. And this McDonald's thing really humanizes him. Way more than Kamala. I like Trump better than Kamala. I would like to hang out with Trump. I would have Trump on a panel and enjoy myself before I had Kamala on a panel and enjoy myself. I'd be cringing the whole time. I'd be frustrated trying to get an answer out of her. Okay, let's see some more tweets. Donald Trump, as a billionaire working at a McDonald's today, is more relatable to the American people than Kamala Harris being raised by a middle-class family ever was. It is impossible to fake authenticity. And actually, I'm not sure how authentic Trump's being, but he's giving a better approximation of it than Kamala is. Let's see. We shall see what seats are won. U.S. Congress, U.S. Senate, and many local state house races. It will be interesting to see. I think Americans are exhausted of being lectured to and told they are bad folks, that America is inherently bad and systemically racist nation, that business owners are evil, greedy capitalists, that our hardworking men, women, family folks are racist, sexist, and bigots, that parental rights are somehow abusive, that government bureaucrats know best when it comes to protecting your children. Americans are tired of being told that the ideology of the bozo world is normal and societal norms are bad, that criminals have more rights and privileges afforded to them than the victims and law-abiding citizens, that up is down and yellow is blue, that we must believe and acquiesce and be willing subjects and participants to their bizarro nonsense, that good is evil and evil is good. I think America is done with the foolishness. That was from Commissioner Sean Morrison, Cook County Commissioner, representing the 17th District. I assume that's in Chicago. Hey, Daniel Barry, happy Monday. Hopefully it turns out happy. I'm just reading some tweets right now. There seems to be a theme emerging. Oh, this is a great video. Watch this. It says, to the liberal media and the Harris Walls campaign, if you want to call it toxic, here, just watch the video. This is very inspirational.
You have black men who are now looking at Donald Trump and saying, you know what? I'm with Trump. I see you, brother. I see you right there, brother. I see you. I see you. Uh-oh. Oh, man. See, Trump did it now. Omega Psi Phi's in the house. Okay, brother. Okay, brother. All right. Okay. Hispanic men are saying, you know what? We need to secure the southern border, and I need an economy that's going to let me pass something on to my kids. They're rolling with us. And for the liberal news and for the Harris campaign, if you want to call it toxic masculinity, be my guest. You know what we call it? We call it manhood. And manhood is needed in America today.
Thank you, sir, very much. I'm going to reclaim that term. I'm proud of my toxic masculinity. And if it's good enough for masculinity, it's good enough for femininity, too. I'm going to start calling out toxic femininity. If that's the level they want to take this game to, I love games. We've been playing them all weekend. Oh, Beak. Wow. Thank you. Hey, Mr. B. What seems accurate about the like America's tired of all that crap? Yeah, who wouldn't be? Who wants to be scolded by a bunch of Karens their whole life? Like, you probably didn't even like it as a kid when your mom did it. What grown adult wants that? Hey, Kane. Beak, thank you so much. Here, let me give you some fanfare. That's how we do it here. Rock on and rock out. Yeah. Thank you. You give me hope. Yes, very much. This is what keeps me going. In fact, I'm going to talk about that today because I have some people that are trying to convince me to give this up and rejoin the workforce. And there are reasons that I'm not. And I had an AI conversation to try to figure out, not to figure out because I know what the reasons are, to try to communicate those reasons to other people in a way they could understand. And something very interesting happened when I tried that. But a few more tweets. Okay, here's another one. Take a look at this. See, this, I just glanced at this briefly, and my initial impression was this seems racist. But see what y'all think. Kamala Harris will create an opportunity agenda for black men, provide $1 million loans that are fully forgivable to black entrepreneurs, capital B black, support education, training, mentorship for black men, protect cryptocurrency investments so black men who make them know their money is safe. There's something infantilizing about that. Like, black men need this kind of babysitting. Launch a national initiative focused on the illnesses that disproportionately impact. Why wasn't this done before? If there's illnesses out there that only impact black men, why are we just hearing about it? And look at this one. Legalize recreational marijuana and create opportunities for black Americans to succeed in this new industry. They're going to help black people sell weed. And then the tweeter says, this Harris-Walz proposal is both racist and unconstitutional. Race-based policies sow division by allocating resources based on skin color rather than individual need. Yes. If black men are disproportionately struggling, a need-based policy would naturally provide more assistance to black men. That seems obvious to me. Due to critical race theory and the favorable coverage of so-called anti-racism by left-wing media, many have become desensitized to the racist policy proposals outlined below. These aren't merely somewhat racist or tangentially related to racism. They are blatantly racist. So, I don't care to vote for... We know who the real racists are. It's not Trump. He was making French fries with a sister at McDonald's last night. They were having a good time. All right, let's see. Okay, here's another video of Kamala. If y'all don't believe that this is really happening... Oh, sorry. Let me show just another instance.
And will put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice. We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms.
They could target me with
because
this.
they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy.
No, not
And
just
if
because you name
profit
an
off of
invisible
hate,
threat. We don't have a
if you
responsibility
act as
to
a
get
megaphone
in on your
for
delusions.
misinformation
Look at
or
this.
cyber warfare, if you don't police
Then the
your
Karens will
platforms,
police it for
we
you.
are going to hold you
See?
accountable
Who wants
as a
this?
community.
This is not America. This is some other form of government or some other country they're trying to install. We don't do this shit in America. Knock it off, Kamala. I hope you lose. I hope you lose big, 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 big. And I hope history never hears or sees from you again. This is just a cute little tweet. It's a conversation between a dad and his kids, the youngest. I thought a sitcom was when you sit and watch comedy. The oldest kid says, no, that's stand up. All right. And here's a meme for you. I want to speak to the manager. Ah ha 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 ha. If only. Okay, I think those are my tweets. All right, let's get into the topic and then I'll throw the link up. I will open a panel. So I asked the AI what, like, the struggles that gifted and neurodivergent people face in the workplace. And you can add to that the struggles that men now face in the workplace. So if you're a gifted and or neurodivergent male, your chances of success in the workplace are in the modern average workplace, maybe not a male environment like a construction site, but the average work environment. Rage standing. Your chances of success are probably going to be less than if you're not that demographic. But then I decided to ask it this. It gave me this whole list of things we struggle with in the workplace, and I've gone over them before. It's very similar to what you've heard me talk about before. But then I asked it, can you reframe this from a woke perspective with giftedness, autism, as the marginalized, oppressed population? Wow, were my eyes opened. Let's see what it has to say. Okay, from a woke or social justice perspective, gifted and autistic individuals can be seen as a marginalized and often oppressed population within the workplace. There is something called workplace mobbing of the gifted. I had a friend that went through it and wrote entire essays on it and did there's a bunch of research that was done on it. In fact, let me see if I can find a link. Yeah, here we go. That kind of goes along with what I'll be talking about. Their unique cognitive abilities, emotional sensitivity, and neurodivergent ways of thinking are frequently misunderstood, devalued, or actively suppressed in environments that prioritize conformity, neurotypical norms, and hierarchical power dynamics. We saw the other day with that conversation about straw, like stem toys and straws, and if you use them less, you're somehow maturing or growing out of your autism. There's still this neurotypical bias where the more neurotypical you appear, the more favorably you're viewed. It has nothing to do with your actual abilities. It's your deportment. It's how you present to neurotypicals. We're still judged by that stuff, even by people that pretend to be allies. This perspective highlights how systemic inequities, ignorance, and power imbalances contribute to the alienation and exclusion of neurodivergent individuals. So what's going to happen today as I go through this AI chat? This is me now in the seat that they are saying black people are in, trans people, women. This is me getting to kind of experience what it would be like if the world were truly like neurotypical supremacy and there was systemic oppression against people like me. So I'm going to try to get a taste of how the woke feel. The parallels are like this is similar to what black people experience, or what women experience, or what trans people experience when they try to integrate into society. Okay, number one, the marginalization of gifted and autistic individuals in the workplace. We often face systemic barriers. This is the kind of stuff I keep arguing against when it comes to race, but let's see if it applies to neurodivergence. These barriers can include stereotypes and stigmatization. How is this? Let me read the description. Like many marginalized groups, neurodivergent individuals are subject to stereotypes that cast them as difficult, too sensitive, eccentric, or uncooperative. I've gotten that right here on this channel. These labels pathologize their differences and reinforce the idea that their ways of thinking and behaving are inherently problematic. Yep, check. I can confirm this. The thing is, stereotypes and stigma that happens inside somebody's head. Like you can't control how somebody sees you. That's where I think the trans activists are kind of deluded. They want to control how you see them. It's your job to pass better. There's a reason why I have no problem calling Blair White she. But I can tell if you look like a man. So if you want something, then you do the work to get that result. I'm not going to just give it to you just because you think you're entitled to it. I don't know how this is systemic if it happens in somebody's head. That's not the system. That's individual psychology. So AI is calling this a systemic barrier, but I think it's just like what? In-group, out-group bias that can be redressed through education. Cultural invisibility. Neurodivergent perspectives are frequently erased or ignored in workplaces that prioritize neurotypical norms. This cultural invisibility means that the contributions and needs of autistic and gifted individuals are often overlooked, leaving them without representation in leadership, decision making, or workplace policies. This really hits home. If this is what they're feeding black, like when my friend had the training and they put all the black people in one room and the Spanish people in another room, etc. If this is the kind of stuff they're telling them, and if they had me in a room with other neurodivergent and gifted people and they were telling me this, it kind of resonates. It really does. Like I can see how easy it would be to fall into this narrative. My whole life, I liken myself to Jan Brady. I am constantly trying to point out things, suggest ideas that I think would work better, get my voice heard, and I'm constantly ignored, talked over, until Marsha Brady comes along and says the exact same thing. Then all of a sudden, all the neurotypicals listen and think it's the best idea. And it's the same shit that people like me have been trying to say over and over and over, that for some reason, neurotypicals can only take it from other neurotypicals. It doesn't transmit when it comes from us, and I don't know why. That's on their end. Because in my mind, I'm communicating like a normal person, like I see everybody else do it. So I don't know why my communication is less visible than neurotypicals. I had a story, but I forgot it. Oh yeah, there was a survivor where it was a bunch of guys and this girl, and they were trying to build their shelter. And the guys had the idea, I'm not kidding, to dig a pit in the sand of the beach and make the shelter like underground in the sand. And the girl kept telling them, guys, that's not going to work. The minute the tide, it's going to come into this and wash it all out. This is a horrible idea for shelter. They dismissed her. They poo-pooed her. They talked over her. They got visibly irritated when she continued to try to tell them her perspective. And guess what happened that night? The tide came in and washed all their shelter away. Because they ignored her. They went ahead and built the pit shelter anyway. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Okay, but again, I don't know how this is systemic. This seems like individual psychology. Something in the psychology of neurotypicals, maybe theory of mind, maybe double empathy problem, keeps them from processing our communication as, I don't know, accurately or enthusiastically or effectively as they do neurotypical but I definitely notice a difference there. I do notice a difference in how we're portrayed as difficult, too sensitive, eccentric, uncooperative, etc. And I notice a difference in how our voices are treated. This is also common in the mental health field when peers try to get their voice heard in a clinical setting, and all the clinicians talk among themselves and reinforce each other and strategize together. And the peers sitting there like, well, if you do this with the well, when I work with the patient, I notice this, and it just gets completely talked over, like not even included in the treatment plan. The struggle is real. Systemic ableism. The systemic bias against people with disabilities includes neurotypical standards of behavior, communication, and performance that dominate most workplaces. I would agree that there are neurotypical and cultural norms, and they're probably similar. They probably overlap because the cultural norms probably come mostly from the neurotypicals in that culture. These standards favor people who can easily navigate social hierarchies, office politics, and conform to standard modes of communication and behavior. Autistic and gifted individuals may find themselves marginalized because they don't fit these modes. I didn't read this when I generated it. I was saving it for the stream. And now that I'm reading it, it's really hitting me hard. I'm having an emotion, like I feel it in my body right now reading this. Every job I have been fired from, I'm a dream employee. I'm on time. I'm reliable. I can work at a higher pace than everybody and at a higher quality. I can get a lot of shit done in the workday. And I'm loyal. Like, if you believe in me and you trust me, I will give you the world. Every job I've gotten fired from has been what they describe here: an inability to navigate social hierarchies, office politics, and conform to standard modes of communication behavior. It is all social stuff, interpersonal stuff, office politics type stuff. I've never been written up. I've never been disciplined. I've never been anything but praised for the quality of my work. Every problem I have in the workplace is social because of shit like this. None of it has to do with the work. I can deliver at a very high level relative to most people in a workplace. And employers would rather have less of that and this conformity than work with me to be able to provide a quality service. That's why this is exactly why I don't re-enter the workforce. I'm answering the question right here. All right, I'm going to look at comments real quick. I can tell this is probably going to be a passionate one, so I'm warning you now. They're control freaks. They want to treat everybody like little children. It's the matriarchy. That's why they cry about the patriarchy all the time, because it's projection. Secretly, they're trying to install a matriarchy. So they got to create this false patriarchy that they get out of the way so they can put the real matriarchy in place. I agree, Kane. I agree. No, Accord will revise it and monetize it. We'll offer a stemming workshop. Hey, Spike, how are you? Right, exactly. They don't even listen to, they can't even engage in a back and forth dialogue. Yes, this is a great point. Great point. Yep. When I started encountering trans activism, my very first impression, and this was the scripture, is these are bullying and intimidation tactics. These are the tactics that bullies use. All right, back to the conversation. Okay, number 2, competency gap and power dynamics. In a workplace, oh God. Again, another story of my life. You can take this back even to school days. In a workplace where a less knowledgeable boss supervises a more competent, gifted, or autistic employee, the competency gap highlights a larger systemic problem of how power is distributed. This gap exemplifies a broader issue. Those with power and authority are often the ones who fit the dominant neurotypical standards. This would be whiteness in the racial paradigm. While the more competent and capable, especially if they are neurodivergent, are pushed to the margins. I don't know how true this is with race, but it is definitely true with neurodivergence. Our talents and skills and abilities are overlooked because how we come across to society or how we communicate or our level of emotion or whatever, if we rock or not. Okay, inequity in power structures. Gifted and autistic individuals, despite their deep knowledge or innovative problem solving skills, are often left without decision making power. The power dynamics in a typical hierarchical workplace favor those who conform to societal. People trust people that are like themselves. So even if you have the ability to cure cancer, that doesn't mean they are going to trust you and be able to work and collaborate with you. You have to trigger that sense of familiarity or similarity before they become comfortable. And maybe that's a neurotypical thing. I don't know. But it is a barrier. I agree. This reflects a broader societal issue where marginalized groups are kept out of leadership positions despite their potential to contribute meaningfully. Yes, yes. And if this is happening to black people and trans people, and you truly are over, like, have the qualifications, and you're not just weaponizing your identity or your victimhood, then I feel your frustration. Like, come on the stream and let's strategize of how to overcome this. Suppression of neurodivergent strengths. Neurodivergent individuals often excel in areas like systems thinking, creativity, and deep focus. However, in workplaces dominated by neurotypical norms, these strengths may be seen as threats to the status quo or simply undervalued. This leads to a dynamic where gifted and autistic individuals are sidelined, not because they lack ability, but because their strengths are not recognized by those in power. This is that positive maladjustment I keep talking about, and it's a very real thing. I told you about one of the jobs I had where the coworkers were complaining that I was working at too high of a standard and making the rest of them look bad. And I'm like, that's not my problem. I don't have a lower standard I could work to. This is my starting standard. I can only go up from here. So if this beginning standard is a problem for you, that is you. That is a you problem. But who pays the price for it? Me. Because I get marginalized at the workplace because of it. I become the person that's disrupting the office norm by working at a higher standard. And the bosses don't come to me and say, wow, I have a really good employee that's really standing out. Let me support him because his success will reflect on my company and we'll all benefit from it. They say, oh, they're making my employees feel bad. I need to contain and micromanage this person somehow so the rest of the employees can feel good enough to do their jobs. That's what happens. Misrecognition and devaluation. When a gifted or autistic employee's expertise exceeds that of their supervisor, they often face misrecognition, a failure by their boss to acknowledge their competence. This is so childish and immature. I'm excited if I have someone working for me that has these amazing skills. I'm like, yay, this is the employee I wanted. We can develop this and make the company great with these kind of people. This is talent. I told you the first job I got fired from here. HR told me I was too creative, passionate, and intense, and that they're just not set up for that there. And that was so weird to me to hear because in my mind, I'm thinking, but I thought those were good. I thought creativity and passion were good things, and I thought employers would be happy to find hires that have that. And now I'm being told, no, in this environment that's not set up for that, it's actually a liability. And what they look for are mediocre employers that can conform to their setup. And I wish I had known that when I got hired. I was at that job for over a year. And if they had told me that when I got hired, I would never have taken the job in the first place. I assumed that the skills and strengths I brought to the job would be valued because that's how they market these jobs. You know, oh, come and grow with us. We look for people with quality and potential, and I fall for all that bullshit. And the reality is completely different. It's fucking office politics and social hierarchies and all about feelings. These were heavily female workplaces, by the way. The devaluation is a form of, oh God, listen to this, epistemic injustice, another form of injustice to fight against. where the knowledge and abilities of marginalized groups are dismissed or ignored because they don't conform to dominant norms of communication, behavior, or appearance. Y'all, I have to say, if this is the case for wokeness using autism and giftedness, it's pretty convincing so far. I'm not even through all the points yet. Oppression through workplace practices. Workplaces are structured around neurotypical values, and this creates a form of oppression for neurodivergent employees. Just exactly what I just said. They said they're not set up for that here. They're not structured for my neurodivergence at that workplace. Individuals are often expected to mask or hide their different. Well, I could skip this one because I don't mask for anybody. This is a form of forced assimilation where they are pressured to conform to dominant cultural norms, even when those norms are antithetical to their well-being or ability to perform their best work. Can you imagine? In fact, I've heard this from black people before, that they have to act less black at work. They have to learn to talk more white. This is called code switching. And this is one thing autistic people really, really struggle with, including me. And it can lead to emotional exhaustion and burnout. It says so right here. That would be, can you imagine a workplace where a gay person was asked to act less gay to keep their job? That's what this is. But we are asked to act less neurodivergent and more neurotypical to keep our jobs. That's an extra standard that's put on us. Rock less, stim less, use your straws less, talk more normal, don't be weird to keep your job. Even though you're doing a great job, we need you to do all this other stuff to keep it, to make the neurotypicals happy. Man, I'm ready to go join. I might vote for Kamala after all. Exclusion from leadership. The glass ceiling prevents groups from advancing into leadership. I'll tell you why this is. Because leaders reflect on the company. They represent they have a higher visibility. So when somebody's looking at a company from the outside and they have a weirdo like me with the title manager, it makes the whole company look weird. And part of it is like appearance and impression that you make on the outside world. That's why maybe I should vote for Kamala and then try to get a job at her administration, because they hired that BDSM guy that stole the luggage more than once. They hired Rachel Levine. They hire all kind of people that look weird. So I feel maybe I'll be more successful under a Kamala regime, except for the whole having a penis thing. I think that's going to work against me. The gatekeeping of opportunities. Employees may be systematically denied opportunities for promotion, mentorship, or professional development because they are seen as too different or unmanageable. Yeah, we get filtered out. There's a set of norms in addition to workplace competencies, which are the skills you need to do your job. There's an additional set of social norms that are neurotypical derived, usually, that are used to gatekeep us from advancement. Not if you have to have the skill set and you have to be able to conform to these neurotypical behavioral norms. You have to do both. And the neurotypicals that can do that get to advance. Whew, I'm getting frustrated. This is really, really hitting. All right, I'll have to read you copy pasta afterwards. I appreciate it though. It's about selling stocks. Maybe, Joe, maybe you can reframe all this in terms of risk management and stocks. Like, yeah, this kind of shit. I was fired over the last job I had 3 days before COVID. I got fired over a complaint brought by a coworker that I helped to get hired. He was a friend of mine. I brought him on, and a year later, he files a complaint against me. I was never allowed to see the complaint, and I asked for it over and over and over. And my boss called me into an 8-hour meeting, and she had this little folder, and the complaint supposedly was in it, and she read, she's like, I have a complaint. I said, I would like a copy of the complaint. I would like to see the complaint. She refused. I used to be an ombuds. I used to help people resolve complaints for a living. I've never known of a situation where you don't get to see the complaint against you, where it's gate kept and hidden from you and just verbally paraphrased to you. That's what happened at this job. To this day, I have no idea what the complaint was. I was never allowed to see what the written complaint that he filed was on me. Interesting. It only takes one person to convince the right person in power for this to happen, by the way. Same here. Same here. The people that know me and the clients I work with, they can't believe all this stuff is happening to me in the workplace because they think I'm like, why am I not? I'm one of the best peers that they know. Why am I not successful? They think I can walk into any job and name my price. All right, the role of positive maladjustment as resistance. Here's where we get into the activism part. From a woke lens, Dabrowski's concept of positive maladjustment can be reframed as a form of resistance to systemic oppression and neurotypical dominance. Okay, without reading further, I'm going to stop them right here. That's not what positive maladjustment is. It's a description of a gap, an ability. It's the competency gap, basically. And if you're truly positive maladjusted, you're not going to waste your time on environments that you're not adjusted to. You're going to figure out what your strengths are and find environments that support those strengths, or lone wolf it and develop those strengths on your own, like I chose to do. So to turn around and use that as a reason to go back to these environments that you don't fit in and start using your positive maladjustment as a way to, I don't know, harass and get them to change, I think is a misuse of the that's not where my positive maladjustment leads me. It leads me to recognize that that's not the place for me, and then to move forward and move on and find the place for me. So this seems like regressive to use positive maladjustment in this way. The resistance is not just personal but political, as it challenges the status quo and calls for systemic change. Challenging neurotypical norms, it can be seen as a refusal to comply with ableist standards that demand, yeah, I do all this already. Calling out inequity. Neurodivergent individuals who experience a competency gap with their less knowledgeable bosses may feel morally and intellectually compelled to speak out. This is a form of speaking truth to power, where the marginalized challenge the dominant group's authority and expose the inequities in the system. Positive maladjustment in this sense is an act of reclaiming agency and demanding that workplaces recognize and value diverse forms of intelligence and contribution. I don't think you can demand that of anybody. I think it's an internal process that they have to come to on their own, just like the trans thing. You can't demand somebody see you in a certain way. You can't demand that somebody recognize something that they're not naturally recognizing. That is a cognitive process that they have to come to on their own. You can communicate it and maybe help it along, but you can't demand it. As far as speaking truth to power, I do that all the time. I've been doing that since I was this high. I don't know how other people are not. I just call it speaking. I just call it like opening my mouth and talking. I would say this: everybody should be speaking truth to everybody, just power and everything else all the time. So I don't see this as a special issue that only activists need to be doing. And a refusal to participate in oppression. Yes, that is what I am doing. I left the workforce and I am determined to succeed on my own. And like I said, there are people that are trying to convince me that it's time to call it quits. I've tried this for a year. I don't have the success to show for it that they might have expected. And it's time to get a job. No. I still believe in me. I still have evidence every day that I'm on this stream that what I'm doing is of value. And I'm going to keep doing that. The emotional and psychological toll of oppression, I'm going to skip. We talked about burnout. They also include alienation and isolation. Reframing the competency gap as structural oppression. This one's interesting. The competency gap is not just a personal or individual issue. It is a structural problem rooted in the way workplaces are organized around neurotypical dominance. See, the larger point I want to make about this exercise today is anybody can be oppressed. You can go to the AI and take your identity group and get the AI to reframe it as a narrative of oppression, and then boom, you are now an oppressed population. I tried it for men, by the way, which it gave pretty much the same thing as the Red Pill documentary gives. But you could go to the AI and say, can you give me a woke narrative about how white, straight Christian males are oppressed in today's society, and it will do it. And then you can say, see, I'm oppressed too. Everybody has their own custom-made oppression narrative. Employees are marginalized not because of any inherent flaws, but because the systems of power in place do not accommodate or value their contributions. Other than that HR guy saying they're not set up for that there, every act of discrimination or every instance of this that I've experienced has been from an individual. It has not been because the workplace has a policy saying don't promote people like Jeff. It is because individual supervisors are making the decision not to do it. That's why I say it's not systemic, it's individual. By viewing the competency gap through a social justice lens, we can recognize it as an example of how systems of oppression prevent neurodivergent individuals from achieving their full potential. And I've asked this question many times before, and I've never really gotten a clear answer. Is systemic just another word for widespread? Because I think it's like the system is designed with the intent to oppress. Not just it's a neutral system and it just happens to be filled with a bunch of people who all take these discriminatory actions. That to me is not a system. That's a bunch of individuals within a system doing one thing. But that's not the system itself. I separate individual acts from the way the system is structured. And so if all they're saying is that there's a bunch of cops stopping black people, or that there's a bunch of neurotypical bosses not promoting autistic people, that is still individual to me. That's not the system. Even if it's 90% of the people in the system doing it, it is still separate from the system itself. And then they give a few suggestions on how to, like what to do about it. Create neurodivergent friendly policies. Workplaces must implement policies that support the needs of neurodivergent employees, such as flexible communication styles, accommodations for sensory sensitivities, and the inclusion of neurodivergent individuals in decision-making processes. The last job I had that I got fired from, by the way, they do this already. You already are entitled to these accommodations. The workplace is just really bad at knowing how to accommodate you. That's why I recommend self-accommodating and managing it on your own. So at my last job, we had the staff meetings in this big like group room. And my little office desk was on the other side of a wall, just outside of the doorway of one of the exits to this room. And so what my accommodation was, because this is why staff meetings were confusing for me, because I could have an individual relationship with every one of my coworkers, and we could communicate just fine. But when they get in a group setting, they become completely different people. And they take on this group identity. And then when I try to communicate with them as the individuals, it changes. It's different, and it throws me completely off. And so what me and my boss came up with was I would get to sit at my desk behind this little wall, and I could still hear the meeting. And if I had anything to say, I could like roll my chair back and pop over the wall and add my 2 cents, and then go back behind the wall to my desk and listen to the meeting. And it worked. It worked just fine. My weirdness didn't throw off their group dynamic. The group dynamic didn't throw off my communication. It worked just fine. But things like that, like normalizing things like that, really help. And a lot of workplaces already do it. It doesn't keep you from getting fired because I still had that complaint filed on me. But it was a step. Challenging hierarchical power dynamics, the current power structures. Are they talking about supervisors, management? That favor neurotypical norms must be reformed to create space for neurodivergent leadership and expertise. I would not want any neurodivergent person promoted that did not earn that promotion, that did not have the skill and ability to warrant being promoted. I don't want autistic people being promoted just to have autistic people in management if they're not qualified for it. Fortunately, I think enough of us are that that's not a concern. Like if you do want neurodivergent people in leadership, and I suspect most people secretly don't because we're a little difficult, but we'll make your company better too. So you figure out if you want to pay the price or not. And then building solidarity across marginalized groups. I tried this. I might as well be a straight white male patriarch. Um, I have tried using my autism, my gayness, my ethnicity. I have tried using all of that to build bridges with all these marginalized groups, and they're not having any of it. If they see a penis and white skin, their threat alarms go off unless you act gay enough to kind of disarm some of that, which I don't. So I'm immediately on like high alert threat level, and these bridges are not being built, and that's on the woke themselves. So I guess that this didn't fully convince me that wokeness is the way to go, but it did kind of help me understand why somebody might be led that way, and kind of uncritically. All right, let me do comments, and then I'll go back to Joe's essay. Yeah, exactly. It's vibe. This is all vibe shit. I don't do vibes. I don't do vibes. I do logos. I do logic. I do concrete. Like the world used to what the legal system, you have to show concrete evidence. You can't just go to the judge and make a vibe case to him. Science works off of concrete evidence, not hard science anyway, not vibes. Right, but then where does that, what are the alternatives? Where does that leave people like us when 99% of the jobs out there would fall in this category? That's the dilemma that I'm in. Right, I'm trying to get we have super chats, we have memberships, I have a website. You can hire me as a consultant. You can become a client. I have many, many, many ways to funnel those reparations this way. Right, yes. Like half of my resume since I've been in Seattle has been dead weight. Exactly. I don't know if there. I actually thought of that. WAS, and I don't think there are any where I'm at. I did. I tried. I joined some Republican groups. I was going to network with the Republicans. I even offered to volunteer for some of the events, and they never got back with me. Nah, they're not going to force company prayer. I trust Republicans not to that. I've never been in a workplace that forced company prayer. Gay autistic Satanist, you think? Well, my life is certainly not an indication that it's the future. Oh, okay. So they're using it. It's like a medical analogy, not a structural. And I was taking it as a structural analogy because they even use the term structural racism and institutional racism, but they meant more like an organic body that's systemically infected with something, which would be individuals. They're systemically infected with individuals with bias. A condition. How can a systemic is a condition that occur and not localized. So yeah, then it's semantics. But then why do they use words like structural and institutional? And why do they say that it was designed to oppress? I remember a few streams ago, like a few weeks ago, I did the article on the 7 different types of racism, and some of them were structural and institutional, and they specifically said that the Constitution itself, because it was written by slave owners, had racism designed into it from the start. That was structural or institutional racism. That's kind of where I'm at. This is my last Hail Mary. If I can't make something of this, I'm living under the bridge. The risk of not taking enough risk. Right, exactly. Okay, good. That helps. Because really, it really is this or a life of homelessness and marginalization. Right. I think it is mentally healthy when people can be themselves. And I think the gay rights movement should have taught everybody this. Like, that people could see the difference between homosexuals living openly and having healthy senses of themselves and healthy identities, and the ones where it was a mental illness and they had to stay in the closet, they had to hide and stuff. Like, it's a night and day difference between when somebody's allowed to be themselves. I think every human benefits from being allowed to be their natural self, unless you're a sociopath, serial killer, whatever. Don't be, in that case, continue to mask and please don't be yourself. But that's a very small percentage of humanity. Most people, I think, benefit from being allowed to be themselves. And so I am trying to create a space where that can happen. And my God, in fact, I want to read this quote. From the director of the gifted school that I went to. I have a list of quotes that a friend sent me of his, and this one always stuck with me. Let me try to find it. My job here, he was the director of this residential program for gifted students, like junior high school kids. He says, my job here isn't really to administer this thing. I'm here to protect the vision from a world that spends almost every day trying to kill it. That is what he saw his job as. And that is very much what I see my job here as. I am here to maintain a space where people can come and be their authentic natural self and develop and grow as that authentic self against a world that every day, including here on YouTube, is trying to kill it. You know what? I haven't eaten at McDonald's in, I'm not kidding, at least 20 or 30 years. At least 20 years. Probably more. But after watching him do those fries, I am so hungry for some McDonald's French fries. I want some so bad. I forgot how good they tasted. All right, I'm going to drop the link and we're going to get a panel going. I think I've gone on enough about this. What moose? Damn you. You have some splaining to do. No, I'm happy for you, dude. Jealous and happy. Moose is on a kayak right now. He just sent a picture. All right, here we go. Come on up. Oh, Lord, I went almost an hour. Oh, well. That was... I love that! That's like when Leggy like goes off on his boat and shows us all that cool stuff. Speaking of Leggy, where are you? Are you out there? We're supposed to do our thing this Wednesday. I haven't seen Leggy in a while. Hope he's okay. Um, that's all I have for today. Unless we get a panel going. If not, I'm willing to go play some more games. By the way, I think I figured out Cosmic Encounter, so I want to do a tutorial on it. I need 5 people. Well, me and 4 other people, so I guess 4 people. And once I get 4 people, we'll do a tutorial, play a few games, and learn the game, and then we can stream it. I think that'll be a really good game. There's people on Twitch that stream. cosmic games, including the original creators of the game. They're still involved in it. And the thing about Cosmic Encounter is you learn the basic game, but then there's expansions that add in new components and layers of complexity. So I think we're going to have to learn it little by little. So each time we play, we'll have like, it'll be an opportunity to bring in new elements that increase the fun of the game. So it's a game that I think people can learn and grow with as they learn. And it's the game that inspired Magic the Gathering, so it has a high pedigree. The game is so fun. I'm not kidding. I introduced it to many friend groups, and when I was in college, we played it a lot, and we played it with a mixed crowd of adults, college students, and some high school kids. And the kids loved it. I remember this 13-year-old girl absolutely just fell it. She went gaga over it. Like she became obsessed with it. She thought it was the most fun thing she's ever done. And to see that kind of passion get ignited in young people. But I am not kidding. I have had people come to my house at 2 or 3 in the morning and knock on my window to play this game because they're so jonesing to play this game. They'll be scratching at the screen. We do that back home. We go knock on people's window or scratch at their screens. Jeff! And I'll like open the blinds, half asleep, and look out, be my friends. Can we play Cosmic Encounter? And I'd wake up and we'd play. So, all that is to say, it's a lot of fun. We played Blackjack last night. In fact, let me drop Moose's link. He hosted some casino games on his channel last night. The one little glitch was it was hard to hear Joe and I. You could hear Moose really well, but Joe and I were very faint. So we have to figure out some way to get the audio to come through evenly. Okay. All right, hang on. I'm doing social media. Right, and some guy watching the stream said he would pay $10 to watch me peel out at a Trans Am, and I told him I would take him up on it. That sounds fun. $10 seems kind of low, but I'll still do it. I'm not proud. And but I just have to warn you, like when I was younger, and we went on vacation, we went to a go-kart track, and I crashed the go-kart to the tires. I didn't even make it around one lap. Like the first little leg of the track, I was crashed into the tires, and they had to pull me off the course. I think they gave my parents their money back. Said he won't be doing this ride. And I was the older sibling. I had to watch all my younger siblings have fun on the go-karts while they set all the tires back up. And ironically enough, as an adult, I ended up working one summer at a go-kart track. All right. Let's see. Okay, Joe's working on his paper. If anybody else wants to come up in the meantime, I'll keep the panel going. Otherwise, it's coming up on an hour. I don't want to take more of your time than you want taken. I was fighting a low-grade fever yesterday, and by the end of the evening, remember I was having those chest pains the other day? I think that was something in my lungs trying to come up. And by the end of the evening last night, I could start feeling crud developing here, and I was pretty sure I was going to wake up with a sinus infection. I was all prepared for it. And I woke up and it was all gone. Like, I feel fine. I don't have fever. I don't have stuffiness. I don't have the lung, nothing. And that's happened before with me, where I'll feel a cold coming on, and I'll go to bed in the evening thinking that I'm going to wake up with a full-blown cold. And I wake up with all of the symptoms gone. I don't know what causes those little, like, beginning minor symptoms and then nothing happens. So I am Oh, okay. Well, Moose, in that case, I might just either do another stream later, or when you get home, if you want to do some more games, I'll be around for that too. Because I think that's a decent investment too. Like the time I invest in learning the games on Discord is that's content that we can bring to the stream later. So it's worth it to me to maybe take a day or so to work on that so we can get it up to streaming quality. And the blackjack game we played last night was Powers Blackjack, and then Moose was playing some Halloween version of it, which looked really cool. And the advantage of that is anybody can jump on and join at any time because it's just played in rounds, and each new round, any number of players can join in, and then they can drop out when they want. So you're not stuck for a whole game. You can come up, play a few rounds, and then drop out if you want. So I think it's a really easy game to get newcomers involved in, along with Uno and Sorry. So maybe that'll be the next games we try to stream. If you're into those games and you want to play, just hit us up on Discord or contact one of us. All right, I think I'll leave it going for another 5 or 10 minutes, and then if nobody hops up, I'll try again this afternoon. And the other thing I'm involved in, I started rewatching the Star Wars trilogy. I got through the first one. They're really they're way better than I remember them. I saw them at the theaters when they first came out. That's how old I am. And I haven't really watched them since. And so not only was it a good, like all the nostalgia was, like I got a hit from that. But I prefer it to Lord of the Rings because it was designed, he wrote it to be a movie. He wrote the story, and his plan was to tell the story using cinematic techniques. And he's really quite an amazing, the way he thinks in film, George Lucas. George Lucas and Steven Spielberg are probably my two favorite mainstream film directors. One of the things about being Gen X is feeling so fortunate to have been born when those two men were alive and making movies. Like they did so much to make our world, and there was never really anything like that before or since. And then I tried to watch The Phantom Menace to kind of catch up on the backstory, and I got about 8 minutes in, and I had to kill it. I said, I can't do this. This is going to ruin the actual original Star Wars experience for me. And one of I tried to figure out what is it about the Phantom Menace that's not there that the original Star Wars had that kept me engaged and kept me admiring the show. And I still can't quite put my finger on it because Lucas directed both of them. But part of it has got to be the same criticism of The Matrix, and they came out the same year. It's the acting. It's that flat, wooden. They're reciting. You can hear them reciting a script. They've stripped all humanity from the characters. There's no warmth. There's no human moments. There's no spontaneity. Everything's just so woodenly, flatly acted. And I wonder if that's a millennial value, like that. It's so dehumanizing. I like personality. I like individuality. I like characters that are individuated. I like characters that are naturalistic. That's why I'm not a Trekkie. Like growing up, I would try to watch Star Trek because it looked like they had all these cool aliens and monsters and shit, and the characters were so forced and like, I'm going to the bridge, Captain, to activate the transponder device. Well, good. Stand by. And like nobody talks like that. Like humans don't talk to each other like that in person. And even when it wasn't in a professional setting, they would still talk to each other like that. Like, how is your day going, Spock? It's fine, Captain. Thank you for asking. Like, it was so artificial to me. Doctor Who was way better of a sci-fi show for me. It's still my favorite sci-fi TV series, the Tom Baker one, and Peter Davison. Fourth Doctor's the best. It was campy. It had a sense of humor about itself. It did take itself seriously. It was fun. It was like all the good stuff that I tune into a piece of cinema for. I don't want to be bored by lifeless characters. If people enjoy that, fine. If it's the explosions and the CGI effects, they're there for it. But I'm there for the people. That if I can't watch a movie without humans to ground my sympathies. That's the point of identification that takes me into the movie and allows me to immerse myself in it and enjoy it. Without that, I'm just watching things move around on the screen that I can't relate to. Kind of like Kamala interviews. Dude, I'm thinking about going get a job at McDonald's, just to supplement this community that I'm trying to do. It gave me hope. It gave me hope because I'm so black pilled on my chances in the workplace. But after seeing Trump work at a McDonald's, I'm like, I feel like I could at least do that. Trump has opened the door for men like me, where we could at least make French fries. And I got to tell you that trainer. Here, I'm going to put the link. The guy that was training him, he was a pro. His training game and his French fry game and the way he was handling Trump, that I hope he gets a promotion. Let's see. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, here it is. If this is the full video of Trump at McDonald's. You know what? I worked at McDonald's for a month when I was like in my 20s, and I was in the fry station. That was my role. Was making the fries, and I loved it. So that's another connection Trump and I have. And it hasn't changed much because that's exactly how we did it. The same setup. The baskets of the oil, you dump them in the tray. They had a different salt thing because we had the little plastic canisters with the lid. It's just like a lid with holes in it that go on top of the canister, and you shake the salt. But they had this device. It was like a funnel, a tube with a funnel on the end, and then you like it puts out just the right amount of salt. You squeeze it, and it like blasts the fries with a cloud of salt. And we didn't have that. That's the only difference that I saw. But everything else was identical to the fry station I worked on in like 1990. So Kamala's team is doing nothing remotely like that to win me over, and they're doing everything possible to alienate me and make me think that they're going to be a bunch of woke schools that police everything and safetyism and babysit people's feelings and don't let people be adults and just keep everybody infantilized and under the thumb of the Karenocracy. So I think Trump's campaign is pulling off a way better. They're way better at political persuasion and getting me to side with them on an affective level. And that's sad because Trump, he's a narcissistic sociopath, should not be that easy to humanize. Like, you should be able to out-humanize yourself in relation to that, and for some reason they can't. In fact, I think I'm going to close with that tweet I read earlier that Mr. B missed part of. It's from that commissioner, Sean Morrison. He's Cook County Commissioner. Hang on, let me grab it. I think he did a very eloquent job of summoning up where America is, the feelings of America. Oh, He has more. He says clearly moderate Democrats have identified that this new brand of leftist Democrat socialist ideology is not the same brand of Democrats of old. It's not clear to me that they've identified that at all. I can't separate the moderates from the woke because they all defend each other and they all use the same rhetoric. So I don't know that they have identified it as not the same brand of old. They have been hijacked and they are moving on. November will be interesting to see exactly how many moderate Democrats are exhausted and tired of the woke drivel and how that election universe changes. Personally, I welcome it. Courage rules the day. And he goes on to say, I really do. I think the moderate Democrats, all men everywhere, that are not going to tolerate being infantilized by a bunch of Karens, and black and Hispanic men, I think are going to, if Trump wins at all, they're going to be what saves this election. We shall see what seats are won, U.S. Congress, U.S. Senate, and many local state house races. It will be interesting to see. I think Americans are exhausted of being lectured to and told they are bad folks, that America is inherently bad and systemically racist nation, that business owners are evil, greedy capitalists, that our hardworking men, women, family folks are racist, sexist, and bigots, that parental rights are somehow abusive, that government bureaucrats know best when it comes to protecting your children. Americans are tired of being told that the ideology of the bozo world is normal and societal norms are bad, that criminals have more rights and privileges afforded them than the victims and law-abiding citizens, that up is down and yellow is blue, that we must believe and acquiesce and be willing subjects and participants to their bizarro nonsenses, that good is evil and evil is good. I think America is done with that foolishness. And here's the link to his tweet. All right, queer dear. I enjoyed you, but unfortunately that's the last time I'm going to get to enjoy you. You're banished to hell. Okay, I'm going to end on that note, and we will try again later. Take care, everybody. Have a good day, and see you then. Come game with us in Discord later if you want, or watch whatever we end up watching. Take care.